Hey up everyone, welcome to the Demis Hellen channel. We're going to focus on this video of creating trance melodies / chords, that sort of thing, just giving you a doorway to inspiration for creating your own melodies and chord structures for trance, and it probably apply to any sort of genre of music anyway, so you can kind of cross-platform this across genres. But the main takeaway of this video is to really give you an avenue to sort of develop your inspiration and give you somewhere to start instead of just looking at a keyboard and saying, where do I start? What key do I use? What's best for trance? Just have a mess around, and then once you've messed around and you've got something that you like, then you can transpose that up and down into different keys, and I'll show you that in the video as well. So let's get started. If you have any questions about what you see in today's video, please let me know down in the comments, and hit subscribe if you're not already here as a subscriber if you think this video is worthy of the subscription. So the technique starts, we're going to use the scale of A minor, so A, Aeolian, all the different names that you can give that. And we're going to start by doing A and A across 2 octaves, so an A in the bass. And you can see it lighting up here on the screen, and an A in the right hand on the next octave. Ignore the mouse pointer there. And all we're going to do from those A's is move opposite directions on the keyboard. So the left is going to go left down the keyboard, and the right hand is going to go right up the keyboard. And we're going to get this effect. And you can see those 2 notes are sounding really nice. So I'm going to loop 4 bars just here, and we're going to recreate that on screen, and obviously copy away if you want to. Alright, we've got those 4 notes there. So I'm going to copy these across like so. So we've got these all the way across, and we're just doing 8th notes rocking back and forth. And what we're going to do in this second half is drop these 1 note. So obviously ignore the orange notes, they're not in the scale. So we've dropped 1 note down to G, and we're going to go up 1 note to B. And then we're going to do the same again. So from the G down to the F, and from the B, we're going to go to a C. And from this F here, we're going to go to the E. And then the same again here, we're going to go from the C to the D. So we're just moving 1 note up on the top, 1 note down on there. And from that we can hear we're getting some results already. It is down to the sound design as well. You're not going to be as inspired if you haven't got the sound that you like the sound of as well. So this one is out of the Dune 3 pack that is available on my website. This is the Dune 3 Trance Leads pack, and this is Lead Centurion out of there. And before we jump into the main section, which is going to look at these MIDI patterns, we're going to just expand on the idea of 1 note each direction, and we're going to create some chords. So we're going to make the triads, and for our standard triad, we're going to do a miss a note, note, miss a note, note. And we've done these videos before, so just to show you on this one here, we're going to miss a note in the scale, add a note, miss a note in the scale, add a note, and that is our standard triad there. But we're only going to use the first 2 notes of that triad. So we're just going to make a 2-note chord here. So I'm going to do the same here. So you can see miss a note, that is not in the scale, so we can put that to an E. Miss a note, F, that is correct. So we can expand now using chords. And you can see how complex that starts to become and how nice it actually starts to sound. If we just open up the filter a little bit here as well. It just keeps closing on the filter. This is part of a project as well. I was just working on some sound design and thought I might as well show you how this works. So I'm just going to bring this up to about here. Now it gets a little bit different on the top note, so we could add that extra top note in to make the triad, so that would look like this. It sounds a little bit weird, but this is where you can experiment with your notation. Like I know a G is going to be best suited, just so we're doubling up like on the bass. So I'm going to add a G. Or instead of on the F, we could just have this not move on the top note, so the bottom of the chord comes to meet the top note. And obviously in different circumstances this is going to sound different. So if we're doing an arpeggio, for example, that's probably going to sound better like this, for example, instead of a block chord. And then this one, you can see I've just moved up to the B, just a bit of experimentation, but I feel from this one it could move up to the B there. Okay, so it's a C that I was actually hearing, but it is too high. So I'm going to do the same as what I did here and make the chord meet this note on the top of the previous chord. Okay, so that sounds a little bit more basic, but there's a lot more things to consider when we're building that up. So we're going to focus on the single note and the double note. So what we're going to do is take that knowledge and we're going to apply it to this rhythm here. So all we've got is a simple rhythm. And after 4 bars, it repeats 2 notes on the top and starts again. So we're going to do that exact same pattern that we did, and we're going to move a note up. So I'll do the top notes first. So they're just climbing 1 note in the scale each time. These are dropping 1 note in the scale each time. And then on this one, we'll mimic the other one that we did with the 2 notes. And then we'll start amending it and making some sort of usable melody that we can actually use in a track. There we are. So we've got 2 variations if we just listen to these on their own. So you can hear it adds a bit of tension, adding that second note in there. Obviously it's the 3rd note of the chord. We're not going to go into theory, but it's starting to add a little bit of tension in there and it makes it sound like something's building up to something more. So let's copy this over. I'm just going to move this one over and we'll loop just this first section. So the reason that I've copied it over is so we have an intact original version, so we've got something to reference back to. If we make a mistake, we can just go straight back to it instead of trying to undo and get to a point where you thought that it sounded best. However, we can take this one step further. So I'm just going to chop this first part and we're actually going to use just the single notes here for now, just to keep things simple. I've changed it back to its original state, and what we're going to do is the same sort of intervals where we moved 1 apart each way, but we're going to move 2 apart this time. So instead of going to B, we're going to go to the C, and in the bass, instead of going to the G, we're going to go to the F. So let's just listen to how that sounds on a starting point. So you can hear we're generating something already. It might not be the most exciting melody, but it's going to start to help your brain understand how things are working, and it's going to give you a starting point to actually start building more of a melodic sequence or a chord structure. So we're going to do the same again. I'm going to move down 2. Now, in my opinion, I don't think this is going to work because moving up 2, we've got an E and a D. Let's just see how it sounds. Okay, I'm wrong. That does kind of work. It's not what I was expecting in my head, but you can see even I'm pleasantly surprised at how well that works. So this is the sort of thing that I do on the keyboard when I'm just messing around. I'm playing around with some chords and then just moving at intervals sometimes, depending on how I'm sticking with writer's block. So if I've got a bit of writer's block, I'm going to go back to basics and I'm going to hit a chord and I'm going to go right. I'm going to go up 2 spaces and down 2 spaces on the left. And it suddenly gives you a chord structure and a pathway. Now, if you're not into theory, this is going to work really well for you. I do encourage to learn some theory because it's just going to make things a lot easier, and you're going to not hit that writer's block wall as often because you're going to have some routes to take and choose different pathways in your melody construction. So there are many different ways that we can approach this, and yes, the theory is still kind of being applied when I'm playing on the keyboard. So now we've got the interval set up, let's make our 2-note chord. So we know that's not right. We want to miss a note and add a note. That sounds a bit dodge, maybe a little bit higher. with that for now, that double note. So I feel maybe a B or a C is going to be nicer here. I just want it to go a little bit higher, and then we've got room to maneuver in the back end of this melody. So yep, C on there, and possibly something like that. Before we finish up, we'll look at this one here. So really it's just a different MIDI pattern. It's not really anything different. And let's stick to the one note variant here with the chord structure like this. So we're just moving up one note at a time and adjusting the top notes if we need to, like so. And let's drop that, and in fact let's do what we did before where we kept it going for a little bit longer on that chord, like so. And just before we put the bass and the kick and everything there, to give you a little bit of context, you can now shift this around. So if everything's selected, we can change it into a different key. So if we want this to be in, say, A sharp minor, we just move it up one note. So it's on A sharp, and we've got A sharp minor. You can see that these are in the wrong colors now because we've got this set to natural minor. But if we was to change this now to A sharp, and it's staying on minor, you can see it's adjusted everything and it's saying, yep, that's all in key. But it will give you a different feel to the sound. I'm not going to go into great detail on this because we've covered this before, but there's some more videos coming up in the future on this as well. That gives it a more serious feel in my opinion, whereas the one that we had before in the A minor section, it's a little bit softer and seems a little bit more laid back, whereas this one seems a little bit more upfront and a little bit more tension in the melody. Whereas this one is a bit more relaxed. And that goes for any key. We could drop that to an F sharp minor. And that sounds even better in my opinion. I love the sound of F sharp minor. It's always sort of a key that I gravitate towards these days. Okay, so let's put that back into A minor. So I'm just going to switch this back so you don't get confused. We can see everything on screen. All right, so we have the kick and the bass. I've just adjusted this bass line here, so this one is not adjusted yet. So that's the only section we're working with. Is the one with the 2-note chords. And finally, we've got this bass adjusted for this one where we made the 2-note gaps. With that said, this is the end of the video. If you have any questions about what you've seen in today's video, please let me know down in the comments. If you're new here and think it deserves a subscribe, hit the subscribe icon and the bell icon so you don't miss any videos. There's always one a week. And with that said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.